The small metal object drifted through space, spinning slowly as it moved away from the blue planet. Its solar panels caught the light from the yellow star, and weak radio signals pulsed from its simple antenna. To most creatures in the galaxy, it would have seemed like junk. But Admiral Kethver saw something different. "Bring me the readings again," he said to his aide. His 6 eyes focused on the data flowing across the screen. The Zephyrian ship had been watching this solar system for 3 months now, studying the strange signals coming from the third planet. The aide, a younger Zephyrian with bright purple scales, handed him the datapad. "Sir, the probe is definitely from the blue planet. The construction is very basic. Metal plates held together with simple welds. The computer inside runs on old circuits that our ancestors might have used 1,000 years ago." Kethver nodded slowly. His people, the Zephyrian Collective, had been expanding across the galaxy for centuries. They had conquered dozens of worlds and absorbed many different species into their empire. Some species fought back with advanced weapons. Others tried to hide. A few even tried to make deals. But this was something new. What about the planet itself? He asked. Another aide stepped forward. This one was older, with the silver markings of a senior intelligence officer. "Admiral, we have been intercepting their transmissions for weeks. The beings call themselves humans. They appear to be very weak." The aide touched a control, and images filled the screen. Kethver saw pictures of humans. Soft, pink creatures with no natural armor or claws. They had thin skin that could be easily cut. They seemed to need clothes to protect them from their own planet's weather. Many of the transmissions showed humans being afraid of simple things like storms, wild animals, and even small injuries. "Look at this," the intelligence officer continued. More images appeared. They build shelters from their planet's weather. They feared their own sun and cover their skin to protect it. They get sick from tiny organisms that would not affect even the weakest Zephyrian child. Their lifespan is incredibly short, less than 100 standard years. Kethver studied the data carefully. The humans did seem very fragile. Their space technology was laughably primitive. The probe they had launched was barely capable of reaching beyond their own planet's gravity. Their rockets exploded regularly during testing. Their space stations were tiny metal boxes that looked ready to fall apart. "Sir," the young aide said, "we also intercepted their entertainment broadcasts. They tell stories about beings from other worlds, but in all their stories, the aliens are the stronger ones. They seem to expect that any species they meet will be more powerful than them." "Interesting," Kethver mused. Most species his people had encountered either thought they were the strongest in the galaxy or at least put up a brave front. These humans seemed to already accept that they were weak. The intelligence officer brought up more data. "Admiral, there is something else. We have detected no military installations on their planet. No weapons pointed at space. No defense grids. Their largest weapons appear to be designed for fighting each other, not for defending against invasion from above." Kethver's mandibles clicked together in what his species used as laughter. They fight each other instead of preparing for external threats. How typical of a primitive species. "Yes, sir. Our analysis suggests that if we wanted to take their planet, they would have no way to stop us. A single battle group could control their entire world within days." But Kethver was a careful admiral. He had not risen through the ranks of the collective by being reckless. "Continue monitoring them. I want to know everything about these humans before we make contact." Over the following weeks, more data came in. The humans sent more probes into space, each one as primitive as the last. They broadcasted constantly, music, stories, scientific data, even signals that seemed designed to attract attention from other species. It was as if they wanted to be found. The more Kethver learned, the more convinced he became that these humans were perfect for absorption into the collective. They were intelligent enough to be useful. Their transmission showed impressive art, mathematics, and basic science. But they were clearly too weak to resist conquest and too primitive to pose any threat. "Admiral," his senior aide reported one day, "High Command is asking for your assessment of this system." Kepher looked out at the blue planet through his ship's main viewer. Such a beautiful world, with vast oceans and green continents. The humans had even managed to avoid destroying their own environment, unlike many species the collective had encountered. They would make excellent workers and researchers once they understood their place in the galaxy. "Tell High Command that I recommend immediate but careful contact," he said finally. "These humans appear to be a peaceful species with no military capability worth mentioning. They show signs of intelligence and creativity that could be valuable to the collective. I believe they can be absorbed with minimal resistance." "And if they do resist, sir?" Kepher's laugh was harsher this time. "With what? Their metal rockets that explode half the time? Their fear of their own weather? No. These humans will welcome us once they understand what we can offer them. Protection from the dangers of space. Technology beyond their dreams. A place in something greater than their small world." He turned back to the viewing screen. Soon, he would make contact with these fragile humans. The collective always tried diplomacy first when possible. Some species joined willingly once they understood the benefits. Others needed more persuasion. But these humans seemed like they would be grateful for protection. "Prepare a contact ship," he ordered. "Something small and non-threatening. We do not want to frighten them before we have a chance to speak with them." As his crew began preparations, Kepher continued to study the human transmissions. Such interesting creatures. Their art spoke of dreams of traveling among the stars, of meeting other civilizations, of finding their place in a larger universe. Soon, he would be able to make those dreams come true. He had no idea that among the stars around him, invisible sensors were carefully recording every detail of his ship, his technology, and his plans. The humans had been watching him just as carefully as he had been watching them. The first contact ship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a silver teardrop. Admiral Kepher watched from his command vessel as the smaller craft approached the coordinates. The humans had provided a flat area of land they called an airport. Near one of their larger cities, thousands of humans had gathered to watch the landing. Kepher could see them through his ship's sensors, tiny figures pointing at the sky, many holding primitive recording devices. Some appeared to be weeping. Others were holding signs with writing on them. The intelligence officer had translated some of the signs. "Welcome to Earth. We come in peace too, and please be our friends." "Sir," the communications officer reported, "we are receiving a transmission from the planet's surface." "Put it through." A human face appeared on the screen. It was an older male with gray hair and kind eyes behind glass lenses that the humans used to correct their weak vision. He was smiling widely, though Kepher could detect signs of nervousness. "Greetings," the human said in carefully pronounced Zephyrian Basic. "I am Dr. Marcus Webb, representing the people of Earth. We are honored by your visit and eager to learn from you." Kepher was impressed despite himself. The humans had somehow learned elements of his language from their brief transmissions. Primitive but clever, he thought. "Greetings, Dr. Webb," Kepher replied, switching to the human language his computers had decoded. "I am Admiral Kepher of the Zephyrian Collective. We come in peace and friendship." The landing went perfectly. The Zephyrian contact team, led by cultural specialist Voltar, met with human representatives in a carefully planned ceremony. The humans presented gifts, examples of their art, music, and food. They seemed genuinely excited to make contact with an advanced species. Over the following days, Kepher was amazed by human enthusiasm. Dr. Webb and his team asked endless questions about Zephyrian technology, culture, and the wider galaxy. They shared their own knowledge freely, showing the aliens their primitive but innovative solutions to various problems. Admiral Veltar reported after a week of meetings. These humans are remarkable in their creativity. Their art forms are completely unique in our experience. Their music creates emotional responses I did not expect, and their literature shows complex philosophical thinking. But they remain militarily insignificant? Keffer asked. Completely. We have toured their space facilities. Everything is exactly as primitive as our initial observations suggested. They have no weapons capable of threatening space vessels. Their largest military installations are designed only for surface warfare among themselves. Dr. Webb has been completely open about showing us everything we asked to see. Keffer nodded. This was going better than expected. Most species, even peaceful ones, tried to hide their military capabilities during first contact. These humans seemed to have no military secrets worth hiding. As weeks turned into months, the Zephyrians established a small orbital station above Earth. They called it a cultural exchange platform, though Keffer privately thought of it as the first step toward a collective administrative center. The humans seemed delighted to have alien visitors and technology to study. Dr. Webb became a frequent visitor to the orbital station. He brought teams of human scientists, artists, and philosophers who engaged in long discussions with the Zephyrian crew. The humans were endlessly curious about life among the stars, about other species, about technology that could let them travel between worlds. Dr. Webb, Keffer said one day as they walked through the station's observation deck, "Your people seem very eager to learn about the galaxy beyond your world." The human smiled, his aging face creasing with genuine warmth. "Admiral, for thousands of years, we have wondered if we were alone in the universe. To learn that we are not, and to meet beings as wise and advanced as yourselves. It is the greatest gift we could ever receive." Such humility, Keffer thought. Most species his people encountered were either hostile or demanded immediate access to advanced technology. These humans seemed content to learn slowly and were grateful for any knowledge shared with them. "Tell me," Keffer continued, "what do your people hope to achieve from our meeting?" Dr. Webb looked out at the stars through the observation window. "We hope to learn, Admiral, to grow. Perhaps someday to join the community of space-traveling species, though we know the day is still far off for us. We are still so primitive compared to you." The human's honesty was refreshing. Keffer had grown fond of these conversations with Dr. Webb. The human was intelligent, thoughtful, and seemed genuinely interested in Zephyrian philosophy and culture. Not like the suspicious, scheming leaders of other species the collective had encountered. Meanwhile, other Zephyrian teams were studying Earth's resources. The planet was incredibly rich. Vast deposits of rare minerals, fresh water, and biological diversity that would be valuable for collective research. The humans seemed unaware of most of their world's wealth, using only a small fraction of available resources. "Sir," the resource assessment team reported, "this planet could supply the collective's needs for several core materials for decades. The humans are using less than 1% of the available deposits. They seem more interested in protecting their environment than in extraction." Keffer reviewed the reports with growing satisfaction. Not only were the humans peaceful and accommodating, but their world was more valuable than initial scans had suggested. High Command would be very pleased. The humans also proved to be excellent students. They absorbed Zephyrian knowledge eagerly, but never pushed for more than was offered. They shared their own discoveries freely, including some innovations that surprised even Zephyrian scientists. Their approach to biological systems was particularly creative, though still very primitive. "Admiral," Dr. Webb said during one of their regular meetings. My government has asked me to inquire about the possibility of formal relations between our species. We would be honored if the collective would consider establishing a permanent relationship with Earth. What kind of relationship did you have in mind? Kethver asked, though he already knew where this conversation would lead. Perhaps a protectorate arrangement? We understand that we are not ready to be full members of a galactic community, but we would welcome collective guidance and protection. We know there must be dangerous species among the stars, and we have no way to defend ourselves. Perfect, Kethver thought. The humans were essentially asking to be absorbed into the collective. They understood their own weakness and wanted protection. This was better than he had dared hope. I will pass your request to High Command, he said carefully. Such arrangements are not unknown in collective history. Species that show promise but need guidance have often benefited from our protection. Dr. Webb's smile was brilliant. Thank you, Admiral. Whatever decision your leaders make, we are grateful for the friendship you have already shown us. As the human delegation returned to Earth that day, Kethver composed his report to High Command. The humans were exactly what they appeared to be, a primitive but intelligent species eager for guidance and protection. They posed no military threat and would be grateful for collective rule. Their planet was resource-rich and strategically located. He recommended immediate establishment of a formal protectorate, followed by gradual integration of human society into the collective. Within a few years, Earth could become a valuable administrative and research center, with humans serving as willing workers and subjects for various collective projects. What Kethver did not know was that every conversation, every scan, every data exchange was being carefully recorded and analyzed by systems far more advanced than anything his people had ever seen. The humans were indeed learning from their new alien friends, but not in the way the Zephyrians thought. The message from High Command arrived 6 months after first contact. Admiral Kethver read it 3 times before the full meaning sank in. He had expected approval for a protectorate arrangement. What he got instead was something much more direct. Battle Fleet Omega will arrive in your sector within 30 days, the message read. Earth's resources are too valuable to share with the native population. You will prepare for complete planetary acquisition. The humans will be relocated to Settlement World 47B. Resistance will be met with appropriate force. Kethver stared at the screen in his private quarters. Settlement World 47B was a barely habitable planet in a distant system. The collective used it as a holding area for displaced populations. The humans would survive there, but they would never see their beautiful blue world again. He thought about Dr. Webb, who had visited the orbital station just yesterday with a delegation of human artists. They had shared their latest musical compositions, complex symphonies that even Zephyrian musicians found moving. The old human had spoken excitedly about plans for a cultural exchange program that would last for generations. Admiral? His aide's voice came through the communications panel. High Command is requesting confirmation that you received their orders. Confirmed, Kethver replied quietly. Battle Fleet Omega is expected in 30 days. Over the following weeks, Kethver watched the massive fleet approach through long-range sensors. 300 warships, carrying 2 million soldiers. It was enough firepower to sterilize a dozen worlds, all directed at one peaceful planet whose inhabitants trusted the Zephyrians completely. The fleet was led by Admiral Dexmore, a veteran of dozens of conquest campaigns. Where Kethver preferred diplomacy and careful integration, Dexmore believed in overwhelming force and quick submission. His ships had reduced proud civilizations to rubble in matters of days. Dr. Webb continued his regular visits to the orbital station, unaware of what was coming. During their last meeting before the fleet's arrival, the old human seemed more excited than usual. Admiral, he said, settling into his usual chair in Kethver's office. "I wanted to thank you again for everything you have done for humanity. The knowledge you have shared, the friendship you have shown. It has changed our world forever." Kethver felt something twist in his chest, an emotion he had not experienced often in his long military career. "Dr. Webb, there is something I need to tell you." The human leaned forward, his kind eyes showing concern. "What is it, Admiral?" You seem troubled. How could he explain? How could he tell this trusting, gentle being that his entire species was about to be uprooted from the only world they had ever known? "The collective has made a decision about Earth." Kethver began carefully. Dr. Webb's face lit up. "Oh, wonderful. Have they approved our request for protectorate status?" "Not exactly." Kethver chose his words carefully. "High Command has decided that Earth resources are strategically necessary for the collective's continued expansion. A battle fleet is arriving soon to assume direct control of your planet." The change in Dr. Webb's expression was immediate and heartbreaking. The hope and excitement drained from his face, replaced by something Kethver had never seen in the gentle human before: deep, profound sadness. "I see," Dr. Webb said quietly. "And what will happen to my people?" "You will be relocated to a safe world where you can continue your development under collective guidance. It is for the best, Dr. Webb. Earth is too valuable to remain undeveloped, and your people are not yet ready for the responsibilities of managing such resources." Dr. Webb was silent for a long moment, staring out the observation window at his blue world below. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady but hollow. "How long do we have?" "The fleet will arrive in 3 days. Your people will have 72 hours to prepare for transport. I have requested that families be kept together during the relocation." "That is considerate of you, Admiral." Dr. Webb stood slowly, suddenly looking older than his years. "I should return to Earth to inform my government." Kethver watched the human leave, feeling worse than he had in decades. This was not how conquests were supposed to go. Usually, the enemy species fought back, making it easier to justify overwhelming force. But these humans had done nothing but offer friendship and cooperation. Battle Fleet Omega arrived exactly on schedule. The massive ships took positions around Earth like predators surrounding prey. Admiral Dexmoor's flagship, a kilometer-long dreadnought, positioned itself directly above the planet's largest continent. Kethver met with Dexmoor aboard the flagship. The other admiral was everything Kethver remembered: cold, efficient, and utterly without sentiment. "Your report says the natives are completely defenseless," Dexmoor said, reviewing the data. "No orbital weapons, no space fleet, no defensive installations of any significance." "That is correct." "They have been completely cooperative since first contact." Dexmoor's laugh was harsh. "How refreshing. A species that knows its place without needing to be taught. This should be the easiest conquest in collective history." The ultimatum was broadcast to Earth on all frequencies. Dexmoor's message was direct and uncompromising. "People of Earth, the Zephyrian Collective is assuming control of your world for the greater good of the galaxy. You will prepare for immediate relocation to a world better suited to your current level of development. Transport ships will begin loading in 72 hours. Cooperation will be rewarded. Resistance will be crushed." Kethver watched the human response through his ship's sensors. There were gatherings in major cities, millions of people coming together in what appeared to be panic and despair. Some humans seemed to be arguing, others praying to their various gods. But there were no military mobilizations, no frantic preparations for defense. Dr. Webb requested one final meeting. He arrived at the orbital station with a small delegation, all of them wearing the same expression of resigned sadness that Kethver had seen on their leader's face. "Admiral," Dr. Webb said, "my government has asked me to make one final appeal. We understand that resistance is useless. We have no weapons that could threaten your fleet. But we ask for mercy for our children, our elderly, our sick. The journey to this new world. Many of our people will not survive it. Kefir felt that uncomfortable twist in his chest again. I have already requested that medical facilities be provided on the transport ships. Your people will receive the best care possible during the journey. Thank you. Dr. Webb's smile was wan but genuine. You have been a good friend to humanity, Admiral. I want you to know that we do not blame you for this. We understand that you are following orders from your superiors. The old human extended his hand in the gesture that his species used for farewell. Kefir took it, feeling the fragile bones beneath the soft skin. So weak, these humans. Yet somehow Dr. Webb's dignity in the face of defeat made Kefir feel smaller than the human standing before him. I am sorry, Marcus, Kefir said, using the human's first name for the first time. Dr. Webb squeezed his hand gently. I know you are, my friend. I know you are. As the human delegation prepared to return to Earth for the last time, Dr. Webb turned back at the docking bay entrance. Admiral, may I ask you something? Of course. In all of your experience with other species, have any ever surprised you? Have you ever discovered that a species was different than they appeared? The question seemed oddly specific, but Kefir answered honestly. Once or twice. Usually, primitive species turn out to be more warlike than they first appeared. Why do you ask? Dr. Webb's smile was different this time. For just a moment, it reminded Kefir of the expression he had seen on the faces of collective generals just before they sprang a tactical trap. No reason, Admiral. Just curious about the galaxy we are leaving behind. With that, the humans departed. Kefir watched their small shuttle disappear into Earth's atmosphere, carrying the last free representatives of humanity back to their doomed world. The 72-hour countdown began. The countdown reached 0 at exactly 0800 Earth Standard Time. Admiral Kefir stood on the bridge of his ship, watching Admiral Dexmoor's fleet move into position around Earth. Transport vessels, each capable of carrying 50,000 humans, moved toward the planet's surface. The operation would take weeks to complete, but it was beginning right on schedule. All ships report ready. Dexmoor's voice came through the communications channel, beginning descent to primary population centers. Resistance is negligible. Kefir's sensors showed the same thing they had for months. A peaceful blue world with primitive orbital installations and no significant military activity. The humans seemed to have accepted their fate. There were large gatherings of people in the cities, but they appeared to be farewell ceremonies rather than resistance movements. Admiral Kefir came a transmission from the planet's surface. It was Dr. Webb, speaking from what humans called their United Nations building. My people have a final message for the Zephyrian Collective. Go ahead, Dr. Webb. The old human's face appeared on the screen, but something was different about his expression. The sadness was gone, replaced by something Kefir could not quite identify. Admiral, I want to thank you and your people for these past months. You have taught us much about your technology, your tactics, and your empire. We have learned everything we needed to know. There was something in Dr. Webb's tone that made Kefir uncomfortable. Dr. Webb, what do you mean by that? The human smile was not the gentle, grandfatherly expression Kefir remembered. It was sharp, confident, and somehow predatory. Admiral, there's something my species has not told you about ourselves. We are not quite as fragile as we appear. Before Kefir could respond, his sensor operator called out in alarm. Admiral, I am detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. Something is powering up. Kefir spun toward the sensor station. What kind of signatures? Sir, I do not understand these readings. The energy levels are beyond our measurement scale. On the main screen, space itself seemed to shimmer. What Kethver had thought was empty void began to change. Massive shapes appeared where nothing had been visible moments before. They were not ships in any sense that Zephyrian military doctrine understood. They were enormous biomechanical constructs, each one larger than Dexmoor's flagship, that had been completely invisible to every sensor the collective possessed. Impossible, Kethver breathed. Those readings, they cannot be accurate. More contacts appeared on the sensors. The asteroid belt that Zephyrian scouts had mapped months ago was revealing itself to be something entirely different. What they had catalogued as space rocks were actually artificial structures of staggering size and complexity. Dr. Webb's voice continued from the planet's surface, now broadcast on all frequencies so that every ship in the collective fleet could hear him. Admiral, do you remember asking me about our hopes for joining the galactic community? We have been part of that community much longer than you realize. We have simply chosen to remain unnoticed. Until now, the moon, Earth's natural satellite that Zephyrian scientists had studied extensively, began to move. Its familiar cratered surface split open like a flower, revealing technology that made collective engineering look like stone tools. A weapon barrel the size of a Zephyrian battlecruiser emerged from what had appeared to be an ordinary lunar mountain. By the void, Admiral Dexmoor's voice came over the communication channel. His usual confidence was gone, replaced by something approaching panic. What are we seeing? These readings, they have to be sensor malfunctions. Kethver's own ship was surrounded now. The biomechanical constructs had moved into position around the collective fleet with impossible speed and silence. His weapons officer looked up from his console with wide eyes. Admiral, I am trying to lock onto targets. But our weapons cannot seem to find these things. It is as if they exist in a different dimension from us. Dr. Webb's image changed to show him standing not in the primitive UN building, but in a command center that made collective technology look ancient. Holographic displays showed real-time positions of every Zephyrian ship. Advanced interfaces showed detailed scans of collective vessels that revealed technical specifications the Zephyrians had never shared. You see, Admiral, Dr. Webb continued, his voice now carrying authority that Kethver had never heard before. When a species evolves on a world as dangerous as Earth, survival requires more than strength. It requires intelligence, adaptability, and above all, the ability to appear harmless until the moment you choose to reveal your true nature. The human orbital stations that had seemed so primitive suddenly unfolded like metallic flowers. Weapon systems emerged that operated on principles Kethver did not recognize. More disturbing still, these weapons were targeting specific systems on collective ships with surgical precision. Dr. Webb, Kethver said, his voice barely steady. What are you? We are exactly what we told you we were, Admiral. We are humans. We are explorers, scientists, artists, and philosophers. But we are also survivors. And when a predator species arrives at our door, we defend ourselves. One of the biomechanical constructs moved closer to Kethver's ship. As it approached, he could see that it was not just a vessel. It was alive. Its hull pulsed with organic rhythms, and tendrils of what looked like living metal reached out to interface with his ship's systems. Admiral, his communications officer called out. They are accessing our computer networks. All of them. I cannot stop it. We could have revealed ourselves months ago, Dr. Webb said. But you were kind to us, Admiral Kethver. You treated us with respect, even when you believed us to be primitive. For that reason, you and your crew will not be harmed. Admiral Dexmoor's voice exploded over the communication channel. All ships, open fire! I do not care what these things are. Destroy them. The collective fleet's weapons lit up the darkness of space. Particle beams, plasma torpedoes, and fusion warheads struck the human constructs with enough force to vaporize asteroids. The weapons had no effect whatsoever. Your weapons operate on principles we mastered centuries ago, Dr. Webb explained calmly. We have had time to develop appropriate defenses. What happened next took exactly 17 minutes. Human systems disabled every collective ship simultaneously. Weapons that had never failed simply stopped working. Shields that had protected against the most powerful known weapons collapsed like soap bubbles. Propulsion systems that could push vessels across interstellar distances went silent, but no one died. Not a single Zephyrian was injured. Instead, precisely targeted energy beams put every crew member into a harmless sleep. Boarding pods that moved like living things attached to collective ships and delivered medical systems that would ensure the crews remained healthy until they awakened. Admiral Dexmoor's massive dreadnought, the pride of the collective fleet, was disabled as easily as the smallest escort vessel. The ship that had reduced civilizations to ash was stopped by technology it could not even detect, let alone fight. Kethver found himself alone on his bridge as his crew succumbed to the sleep-inducing energy. He felt the strange tingling that meant the human systems were affecting him too, but he fought against it. Dr. Webb, he said into his communication device, "Marcus, how long have you been watching us?" The human's voice was gentle again, more like the friend Kethver remembered. "We detected your expansion patterns decades ago, Admiral. We've been preparing for this meeting since before your ships reached our system. Every conversation we had, every piece of technology you showed us, every tactical doctrine you demonstrated, we studied all of it." The probe, Kethver realized. The primitive probe we found was exactly as primitive as it appeared. But it was also broadcasting on frequencies you do not monitor, using quantum entanglement principles your science has not yet discovered. We knew you were watching us from the moment your ships entered our system. Kethver felt his knees growing weak as the sleep effect took hold. Your people, you made us believe. We made you see exactly what you expected to see, Admiral. A weak species that needed protection. It is a very old survival strategy among humans. We call it playing possum, appearing dead or harmless until a predator comes close enough for us to defend ourselves effectively. But why? Kethver asked as he sank into his command chair. Why not just reveal your true strength from the beginning? Dr. Webb's smile was sad again, but not defeated. Because we learned long ago that the galaxy is full of species like yours, Admiral. Predators who see weakness as an invitation to attack. But we are not conquerors. We prefer to remain hidden and protect ourselves by being underestimated. It is much safer that way. As consciousness faded, Kethver heard Dr. Webb's final words. Sleep well, my friend. When you wake up, we will talk about how our species can coexist in this galaxy without anyone else getting hurt. Admiral Kethver awakened in what appeared to be a medical bay, but unlike any he had ever seen. The walls seemed to be alive, pulsing gently with a warm, organic light. The air smelled of growing things, flowers, and fresh rain. Through a transparent section of the wall, he could see Earth hanging in space like a blue jewel. Good morning, Admiral. Kethver turned to see Dr. Webb sitting in a chair beside his bed. The human looked exactly as he had during their first meeting months ago. Kind eyes behind glass lenses. Gray hair, gentle smile. But now Kethver saw something else in that expression. Vast intelligence and patience that spoke of a species far older and wiser than he had imagined. Dr. Webb, Kethver said, his voice hoarse. My crew? All safe and well. They are awakening in similar facilities throughout the system. No one was harmed during what your people would probably call the Battle of Earth, though I suppose it was not much of a battle. Kethver struggled to sit up, and Dr. Webb helped him with surprisingly strong hands. How long was I unconscious? 3 days. We wanted to make sure there were no side effects from the sleep induction. Human medical systems are designed for our biology, so we had to make adjustments for your physiology. Through the transparent wall, Kethfer could see the remnants of Admiral Dexmore's fleet. The ships hung motionless in space, surrounded by the human constructs that had appeared so suddenly. But the collective vessels appeared undamaged. "Your ships are intact," Dr. Webb said, following his gaze. "Your crews are unharmed. Your weapon systems have been permanently disabled, but your life support, communications, and basic propulsion remain functional." "You could have destroyed us easily," Kethfer said. "Why did you not?" Dr. Webb removed his glasses and cleaned them carefully before answering. "Admiral, humans learned long ago that violence creates more problems than it solves. Yes, we could have destroyed your fleet. We could probably destroy your entire collective if we chose to. But what would that accomplish except to make us the same kind of predators that we were defending ourselves against?" Kethfer was quiet for a moment, processing this. "So what happens now? Do we become your prisoners?" "Nothing so dramatic. You and your fleet will be escorted to the edge of our solar system and released. Your weapons will not function, but you can return safely to collective space. We ask only that you carry a message to your high command." "What message?" Dr. Webb stood and walked to the transparent wall, looking out at the disabled fleet. "That Earth is under human protection. That this solar system is our territory. But also that we have no interest in conquest or expansion beyond our current borders. The galaxy is vast enough for both our species to coexist peacefully. The collective will not accept this," Kethfer said. "They will send larger fleets, more powerful weapons." Dr. Webb's smile was patient. "Admiral, do you remember our conversations about human entertainment broadcasts? About how we always portrayed aliens as being stronger than us? Yes, we have been broadcasting those signals for over a century. Every species within 500 light years of Earth has been receiving them. They all think exactly what you thought, that humans are a weak, primitive species waiting to be conquered or uplifted by their betters." The implications hit Kethfer like a physical blow. "You have been deceiving everyone. We have been protecting ourselves the only way that makes sense for a species like ours. Admiral, did you know that in the past 50 years, 7 different species have sent scout fleets to evaluate Earth for conquest? 3 have sent actual invasion forces." Kethfer stared at him. "What happened to them?" "They all left convinced that Earth was either uninhabitable, already claimed by a more powerful species, or simply not worth the effort. We are very good at appearing to be whatever visiting species expect us to be." Dr. Webb touched a control on the wall, and the view shifted to show the space around Earth in more detail. Kethfer gasped at what he saw. The human constructs were not just scattered around the planet. They formed a defensive network that extended throughout the entire system. Massive installations hidden in asteroids. Weapons platforms disguised as space debris. Sensors that could apparently detect approaching ships from light years away. "How long have you been preparing for this?" Kethfer asked. "Humans have been watching the galaxy for nearly 200 years, Admiral. We have observed dozens of species, learned their languages, studied their technology and their behavior patterns. We have been preparing for contact since we first detected radio transmissions from other civilizations. But your technology, during our meetings, everything you showed me was primitive." Dr. Webb laughed, and it was the same warm sound Kethfer remembered from their conversations. "Admiral, everything we showed you was exactly what you expected to see. We have become experts at displaying precisely the level of technology that visiting species find believable." The door to the medical bay opened, and Admiral Dexmore entered. The proud collective commander looked subdued and confused. His uniform was clean and undamaged, but his confidence was completely gone. "Kethfer," Dexmore said, relief obvious in his voice. "I was told you were awake. Are you injured?" "No, I am unharmed." "And you?" "The same." "I do not understand any of this." Dexmore turned to Dr. Webb. "Human, I demand to know what has happened to my fleet." Dr. Webb's expression remained polite, but became noticeably cooler. "Admiral Dexmore, your fleet attempted to attack our homeworld and forcibly relocate our population. Your ships have been disabled, and your weapons permanently deactivated. You and your crews will be returned to collective space unharmed. This is an act of war against the collective." "No," Dr. Webb replied calmly. "This was an act of self-defense by a sovereign species against an unprovoked invasion. We are not at war with anyone, Admiral. We simply wish to be left alone." Dexmore looked around the medical bay, taking in the advanced technology that surrounded them. "The High Command will never accept this. They will send everything we have to crush your pathetic little world." Dr. Webb exchanged a glance with Kethver before answering. "Admiral, we have been monitoring collective communications since your fleet arrived. We know exactly how many ships you have, where they are stationed, and what their capabilities are. We also know about the internal political situation within your empire." The human touched another control, and a holographic display appeared in the air between them. It showed a detailed map of collective space, with fleet positions, resource allocations, and political boundaries marked in perfect detail. "Your empire is overextended," Dr. Webb continued. "You have rebellions brewing in 3 sectors, border conflicts with 2 neighboring species, and a significant resource shortage due to your rapid expansion. Sending more fleets to Earth would require stripping defenses from critical areas. Your High Command may be aggressive, but they are not stupid." Dexmore stared at the display in shock. "How could you possibly know?" "We have been listening, Admiral, watching, learning. We know more about the current state of the collective than most of your own citizens do." Dr. Webb dismissed the holographic display and turned back to the 2 Zephyrian officers. "Gentlemen, humanity is not your enemy. We do not want to conquer your worlds or destroy your civilization. We simply want to exist in peace. But we will defend ourselves if necessary, and as you have seen, we are quite capable of doing so." Kethver found his voice. "What do you want from us, Marcus?" The use of the human's first name seemed to soften Dr. Webb's expression. "We want you to carry a message to your High Command. Earth is off limits. This solar system is human territory. But the rest of the galaxy is large enough for both our species to coexist without conflict. And if the collective refuses?" Dr. Webb was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried a weight that made both Zephyrian admirals understand they were hearing a final warning. Then the collective will discover that humans are capable of much more than defense. 3 hours later, Kethver stood on the bridge of his ship as the human constructs escorted the disabled fleet toward the edge of the solar system. His crew was back at their posts, shaken but unharmed. They would live, and they would return home with a story that would change everything. Dr. Webb had given him a personal communication device before his departure, a small, seemingly simple device that would allow direct contact with Earth's actual government. "Just in case your leaders proved to be wiser than expected," the human had said with his characteristic gentle smile. As Earth fell behind them, Kethver composed his report to High Command. He tried to find words that would convey the magnitude of what they had encountered, the staggering technology gap, and the very real threat that humanity represented if provoked. But he also tried to convey something else, the possibility of coexistence with a species that seemed genuinely committed to peace, as long as they were left alone. Admiral Dexmore, in contrast, was already planning his report. That would demand immediate mobilization of the entire collective fleet for a crushing response to this humiliation. Time would tell which approach High Command would choose. But in the depths of space, hidden sensors watched the departing Zephyrian fleet and transmitted their observations to other human monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. Humanity had revealed itself to one species.